everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morgan, out the Motor City Madmouth. There are just four of us tonight, but that's okay. Four is just fine by me. All right, well, without further delay, we got Candy Emily back in the house. Candy?
It's always great to be here. What a better way than to spend my birthday with you fine gentlemen talking football.
There you go. Happy birthday, Candy.
Thank you.
And Marvin?
Hey, Tom, when she says fine gentlemen, she's talking about me and Scott. All right. But no, listen, happy birthday, Candy. Love being here. As I said, this is one of the highlights of my week. So I'm ready to do it.
All right. Last but not least, Tom Shanahan, kind enough to be on tonight. Predominantly football with a couple little minor twists here and there. Glad to have you back, Tommy, as always.
Yeah, happy birthday, Candy. Pat Fitzgerald's birthday was yesterday, too.
Greg Gard from Wisconsin Badgers, his birthday is today, the basketball coach. So
there you go. All right, well, without further delay, let's get to a lot of our main topics. The last laugh, you got it, goes to Trinidad Chambliss, who had the last laugh after a Mississippi State fan went ahead and stole his jersey the night before the Egg Bowl versus Mississippi State. Get this, he goes 23 of 34 for 359 yards, 4 touchdowns, and a 38-19 win over Mississippi. They now have an 11-0 record. All right, Tommy, what are your thoughts about Mr. Trinidad Chambliss?
Remarkable season. And as I've said before, he's from Ferris State, Division II school, defending NCAA champion. That's my hometown, Big Rapids, Michigan. And he's a great story. One story that's not being talked about, though, is, maybe without him, what were they, 11-1? Maybe without him, they're 9-3.
Right.
Is Lane Kiffin the big hot topic that he is now without Trinidad Chambliss? Maybe he owes Trinidad Chambliss some of that money. I find it disturbing, and money talks. What are you going to do? I think it would be so disappointing if he were to leave Ole Miss and follow Kiffin to LSU after he's endeared himself to those fans at Ole Miss. Ferris State fans love him, and they understand why he wanted to take a shot at Division I. And it might not have worked out. They brought him in as a backup, and the starter got hurt. And Trinidad Chambliss, Wally pipped him. He was played so well they couldn't take him out. So it's a great story from that standpoint, and I just would hate to see him go to LSU.
Okay, well, I appreciate where you're coming from, Marvin.
Yeah, the shenanigans with the stealing the jersey, that's typical rivalry week stuff. I know at USC, they have a thing where like 3 days before the UCLA game, they'll have a ton of students out there sleeping outside next to Tommy Trojan, big statue in the middle of campus,
right.
Because we've had situations where UCLA students vandalize Tommy Trojan. But, these things happen. But, yeah, that kid goes out there, has a hell of a game. Tom, I tell you what, you can absolutely bet he's going to LSU. He's going to do the exact same thing Caleb Williams did with Lincoln Riley at Oklahoma. The coach who he went there for is leaving. So the player is going to follow, and that's just what it's going to be, especially with quarterbacks. So expect him over at LSU this year for sure. Lane went out with the win for his team. Unfortunately, that situation, is what it is. As we said, the horrible calendar behind college football makes this whole thing horrible, and it just destroys the Ole Miss season. It really does. But, they definitely had a quarterback. Lane Kiffin definitely coached that kid up, and Lane Kiffin will be coaching him up again next year in Baton Rouge.
Really? I like the way you're going on a limb on that one. All right, Candy.
I don't know. He's a senior this year, but there are let's face it, we've seen 7-year players too. This kid, as a senior in high school, he threw for 1,610 yards and 17 touchdowns. As a junior, he threw for 2,925 yards and 26 touchdowns, and rushed for 1,019 yards and 25 touchdowns, leading Ferris State to the national championship. In the national championship game against Valdosta State, he combined for 5 touchdowns in the 49-14 victory. As a result of his play, he was named Great Lakes Intercollegiate Athletic Conference Player of the Year and a finalist for the Harlan Hill Trophy. After that year, then he entered the transfer portal. My only thing is, yes, he might follow, but the question is the quarterback that he took over from, will he transfer, and then will they both want to transfer, because he's going to want to play, let's face it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Get paid and play. Absolutely.
Right, exactly. It's both.
It would make the most sense for Lane to take the hot hand, period. And I thought he had eligibility.
He might.
Could be. I thought he had eligibility because
he's going to have to petition, but it's something about his redshirt year that he might.
That's what. Yeah. But we'll see. But no, I would expect him to follow Lane if that's if he gets that year.
He's got the numbers. He's hot.
Well, the reality is these rivalry games tend to do crazy things, and this guy here goes ahead, has a game of his life, and now he's being talked about where he could go somewhere. If it weren't for this big game, would we be having this conversation to begin with the Egg Bowl that he performed so admirably? With that said, okay, Georgia Tech coach Brent Key had to show his credentials to security while walking on the field at Mercedes-Benz Stadium. My goodness, Candy, the guy has to go out there and show his credentials at the stadium, which is right across the street from where the college stadium is, Candy.
That just tells me that security is tight and that the security person doesn't know who people are. And so are they doing their job? Yeah, because if they don't know him and recognize him, which they should, but if they don't, they're doing their job and they're going to make him show credentials. As someone that has been on the field, with credentials, I'm thankful, because there are people on that field that shouldn't be on that field. But in the same breath, you should know the coach of the team.
Tommy?
Well, usually they walk in as a group, and that makes it clear who he is. But it I got to tell this story. It reminds me of a story with Jack Nicklaus. Jack Nicklaus is one of my all-time heroes. And he was opening a golf course, and they had an event to kick it off, and the media was invited, and you got there, and they had name tags for everybody. And you put on your name tag, and they even had a name tag for Jack Nicklaus. And Jack put it on and walked around the whole day with a name tag, Jack Nicklaus, as if he needed it. But that shows you his humbleness.
Marvin?
Yeah, and I'll follow up on what Tom said, because my point is he isn't Nick Saban. This dude isn't, we're not talking about Bill Parcells. You know what I'm saying? Like, it is realistic that there are many people in Atlanta who couldn't pull him out of a lineup. Seriously. So, he doesn't have any distinct features or looks or, redhead or nothing like that. You know what I mean? So he's a 2000s college football offensive lineman, and he's a big guy. And that's pretty much it. They had a really good season compared to what their standard is, and what they've been doing in the last few years. And he definitely is the right guy there, as he is a former player of that school. But it does not shock me at all that people. Now, again, as part of their rehearsal or security screening, they should know who certain people are. I mean, I get that. You know what I mean? I'm assuming that, as Tom said, they all got there on the bus together, and he tried to get onto the field or something like that, a separate way, coming out of the locker room, wherever maybe. I don't know. But it doesn't shock me at all. Win the national championship, then we'll talk about people recognizing you.
So I guess that leaves it up to me. For a guy who's familiar with credentials, I still find it hard to believe that right down the road to his regular stadium, he has to go out there and show his credentials. But hey, you know what? More power to security. All they're doing is doing his job. but I'm
Right.
sure they got it resolved, and it didn't help Georgia Tech. They lost anyway. So, hello, Eddie Prather. Good to have you on tonight. Okay, let's continue the narrative. The Detroit Lions. My gosh, I mean, you cannot ask for a much better Thanksgiving host than they are. I mean, in this game where they lost 31-24, Amon-Ra St. Brown suffers a lower ankle sprain, but he's thankfully for him, he's luckily he'll avoid injured reserve. The 31-24, the Packers improved to 8-3-1. The Lions are 7-5, not good. The Lions reside in third place in the NFC North with a 7-5 record. Green Bay is 8-3-1, and Chicago obviously is now 9-3 after their win over Philadelphia. And the Lions are 0-2 against the Packers this season. And the Lions have lost 8 of their last 10 Thanksgiving games. I'm telling you one thing, it's nice to be very nice to your visitors, but the Lions don't need to do it on Thanksgiving, and they seem to be making a habit of it. Candy, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say it's unfortunate for the Lions because obviously I was on the opposite side of it. Your Lions are injured. Your offensive line is banged up. You thought you were going to get Ragnow or the guy coming back out of retirement, and he didn't pass his physical, so he's not back. Green Bay's defense came to play that game. They really wanted to prove, because everybody's been talking about how good Detroit's defense is and all that, and we haven't talked a lot about the Packers' defense. Well, Micah Parsons wanted to prove a point that he could play and take you guys down. We had 3 sacks on the day compared to you guys' 0. I mean, total yardage, it was a really close game. It was 359 to 352. But the difference, I really think, was some penalties and sacks and like your guys' injury, because Amon-Ra St. Brown going down did not help you guys, and your running game just wasn't clicking on its normal cylinders. So credit to Green Bay's defense. They really needed the win because they want to take the division. Now we have a tough opponent because we go up against the Bears, but you guys haven't played as well on Thanksgiving for whatever reason, and I don't quite understand why, because you're always home. But it was not the game I expected. Let's put it to you that way.
It wasn't the game I expected either, but Danny Prather said Dan Campbell's been doing dumb things this season. Yeah, going for it way too many times on 4th down, and in some cases where he's cost the game. I understand Eddie's point. Marvin?
Yeah, the thing about Detroit is they were so bad for so long, and because they were in this small market, like you would forget about them. But then you had the Thanksgiving game to remind you and show you just how bad they are. And you guys have been part of that tradition. Listen, man, that division is thick right now. You've got a couple teams in there, Detroit, Green Bay, Chicago, looking, who are fighting for that top spot right now. Detroit is really feeling what it's like to lose Ben Johnson. This is why you got your head coach calling plays on 4th down when Ben Johnson would have had that whole situation differently. You know what I mean? You're feeling the effects of losing your true offensive leader. You know what I mean? And Dan Campbell is not it. That whole situation is being exposed. And then you see, Ben Johnson take, these Bears to first place in the division with 3 games to go. So again, he was the guy in that whole situation. And with Detroit, they've turned things around. They are a different organization for sure, but they got holes to fill primarily at the OC. They got to get healthy. Losing Amon St. Brown, former great Trojan, doesn't help. Obviously, he's one of the guys that makes it happen for them. So they got to figure it out. This is what you call adversity, So the whole culture that Dan Campbell preaches, this is what it's made for these situations. So let's see if they can dig themselves out of this hole.
Tommy?
Yeah, that losing 8 of 10 is surprising. What's Campbell been there? 5 years now? So
Yeah, I think he's going on his 5th year, I believe.
I don't know what his record is on Thanksgiving, but historically the Lions have been tough on Thanksgiving when they've had good teams. So that's something he needs to turn around. The 2 things, like Marvin said, losing Ben Johnson is a bigger loss than then they realized the teams they're not able to protect Goff, and teams are forcing him out of the pocket, which he's not as comfortable. And then I guess on the defensive side, even though Aiden Hutchinson was hurt last year and he's back, the pass rush wasn't as good as it was last year. So that's kind of can befuddling too. But every franchise goes through these ups and downs. They may bounce back next year. Who knows?
Yeah. The reality is the Lions have some work to do, and they're going to have a big test tomorrow night against the Dallas Cowboys. We're going to go to our only non-sports topic of the night, and that's this. And it's about a guy that was denied a heart transplant. Ken Long, 54-year-old veteran from Eaton, is denied a heart transplant at Christ Hospital due to his refusal to receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Candy, is this right or wrong?
He was denied a heart transplant because he
didn't have the COVID-19 vaccine. Yeah.
I mean, that's a very personal choice. But to deny a heart transplant, that's taking it a bit far, I think. I'm guessing there's probably more to the story, but I don't know. It's too bad that he was denied a heart transplant because that's got to be obviously something that he really needed. So that's unfortunate. And to force somebody to take a vaccine that hasn't been tested, that it's always effective and good, and that there aren't side effects after the effect. So especially with meds that you would be taking with a transplant like that, I mean, I realize you're high risk, but also there could be some long-term side effects that we don't even know about yet. So that's a little bit harsh, I think.
Marvin?
Yeah, I have a completely different perspective. My thing is, what wouldn't I do for a heart transplant? If I needed a heart and I was going to die, what wouldn't I do? Are you kidding me? Today I had a conversation with my daughter. She's in 8th grade about the flu shot. I haven't had a flu shot. I don't like the idea of putting the flu in me. All right. But if I needed a new heart and it said, Marv, you gotta get the flu shot. Are you kidding me? Come on. Right. So if they're telling you, yeah, we'll give you the heart, take this jab, you take the jab. What are we talking about?
Right. Tommy?
Yeah, I agree with Marvin 100%. How dumb do you have to be? Who was he? Aaron Rodriguez? Why does he say that I was inoculated? It reminds me of that Nick Rolovich, the idiot, was at Washington State making millions of dollars, and he won't get a vaccine because he listens to Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and Trump and all those idiots. I remember about, I guess it's been 15 years. I didn't really care about getting flu vaccines, and I got the flu, and it turned into pneumonia. And it was the worst I've ever been. I thought I was going to die. I was in such pain. And I have never missed a flu vaccine since then. And I haven't had the flu since then either. So, I mean, how stupid do you got to be to not get a vaccine that the government has, the CDC has approved, and it ended the pandemic. People are so stupid.
Yeah, I'll take the needle too. Then I've had so many needles. What's another one? Yeah, if I needed a heart transplant, give me the needle. That's that. I'll leave it at that. The other topics I want to get to here tonight. You're on the Sports Exchange. My name is Scott Morganroth. Please be joined by Candy Aveling, Marvin Powell III, and Tom Shanahan. Candy, once upon a time, a guy by the name of Seneca Wallace played for the Green Bay Packers. Candy, can you give us an update about where Seneca Wallace is right now? He played for the St. Louis Battlehawks of the United Football League. You're talking about a guy, Seneca Wallace, who I think to me is unquestionably one of the better quarterbacks out there. I got to believe that he's out there coaching or whatever. I'm sure she'll provide us with an update.
Yep, I'm looking up right now. Let's see. He played college. He came a coach.
Iowa State.
He's where?
What?
He's an Iowa State boy. He was phenomenal in college, man. I mean,
he was, wasn't he?
Hell of an athlete.
He is a quarterbacks coach for the St. Louis Battlehawks.
All right, so he's a QB coach for him.
Yes.
Good. You know what? You can never have enough good coaches out there, especially a guy that knows the position well. Any thoughts from any of you guys?
The St. Louis Battlehawks is in the United Football League, just so if
Right,
anybody didn't know.
right. I understand. So, Tommy, your thoughts about Seneca Wallace?
I just remember as a great player. I've never really heard of him much since then. I would think he would have lots of connections to get into coaching if he wanted to.
Oh, I don't think there's any question about it. That's for sure, especially with some of the college openings and some of those that could be out there. What about you, Marvin?
Yeah, like I said, great college quarterback, and was able to create a nice little career as a starter backup for a few years. At this point, I'm sure he's a vested player, and yeah, it makes sense. You have that much perspective, that much experience. You can have real impact on young people, and these guys who are in the minor leagues of football here in this UFL. I mean, he'd be a great teacher, mentor, coach without question. So I think it's a good story.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, back in September.
Scott, can I just say one thing? Wallace was the first African American to start a game as a quarterback for the Packers. Just so that's kind of an unusual thing throwing out there.
Yeah. Well, now you have another one.
What year was that? What year was that?
That was in 2013.
Okay. 12 years ago. All right. Well, you know what? When we get all this coaching carousel, one guy that helped get it started was a guy by the name of Trey Lamb, who's the fourth youngest head coach in FBS football at 36. He led Tulsa to its first win in Stillwater, Oklahoma since 1951, 19-12 over Oklahoma State. That turned out to be the beginning of Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. Could his name be a name to watch in future coaching cycles, Marvin?
For as young as he is, having, winning these kind of games, that's how you do it, man. He doesn't have to go undefeated over there. He doesn't have to, almost get into the playoff. He needs to compete, compete, win a few games that you shouldn't win. And, people will project him up and say, yeah, you give him a better, give him some NIL money, give him better talent, he can lead us to a championship. That's how you do it. I mean, you have a lot of coaches that have gone through the coaching ranks for years, collecting a lot of money, and they don't win a lot of games. You know what I mean? They have moments, that the media runs with and fans run with, So listen, good for him. I wish him nothing but the best, and go get it.
As a Tulsa Golden Hurricane beating the Oklahoma State Cowboys.
That's
and
how you do
what got Mike Gundy out of there. Tommy?
Yeah.
Well, what position is he taking at Oklahoma State?
Well, he's the coach that defeated Mike Gundy, and Gundy proceeded to get fired.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Right.
I thought you meant he was going to Oklahoma State.
No.
With Eric Morris. Well, hey, Tulsa's a tough job. They've had some good teams. I don't really know a lot about this guy, but anybody that can do anything in a place like Tulsa, it's more than just being an X's and O's. You gotta know how to motivate guys. You got to know how to connect with the alumni, fundraisers, etc. So it's a big job. It's a lot bigger job than it used to be.
Candy?
You can't be Bill Belichick, gloomy glass, grumpy with everybody. You got to communicate with your alumni and your fans.
Katie?
So just as a side note, in his playing career, he attended Tennessee Tech, where he was a 3-year starting quarterback. In 2011, he led the Golden Eagles to the program's first Ohio Valley Conference championship victory in 36 years. The same year, he helped the Golden Eagles break 9 program records, including points scored in a season, highest scoring average in a season, most first downs in a season. He was and he graduated from Tennessee Tech with a bachelor's degree in interdisciplinary studies. So he actually went back and coached there too, but twice. And now he is at Tulsa. He didn't have the best year. He was 4-8 this year, but hey, kudos to him for moving up the coaching ranks, and hopefully he has better success. I mean, this was his first year at Tulsa, so hopefully he has better success next year.
Well, when one of those wins is against a state rival, then that fourth win isn't so bad. You can cushion the blow for sure. All right, well, let's continue on. Terry Brad. I actually wonder how Terry Bradshaw is feeling about his comments earlier when the Steelers were pursuing Aaron Rodgers. He said this guy needs to stay in California, go somewhere and chew on bark. Well, and whisper to the guys out there. Well, guess what, Terry? He's playing for your team and isn't doing that bad of a job. I wonder what Terry's thinking now, Marvin, about when he made those comments.
Well, I'll tell you what, I mean, it's subjective in regards to how he's playing. I mean, right now, I think he has some of the lowest numbers in the NFL as a starting quarterback. But, with that said, the Steelers are now, they're playing for first place here this week just because the division, you've had some parity. So I don't know that, he feels bad about that. I think he was right on, to be honest with you. I think a lot of people feel that way. I still think, with 3 games left and the division completely up for grabs with them being tied for first place, let's see what they do, man, because the playoffs is a whole new season. And, he doesn't have to be vintage Aaron Rodgers, but if he could be a shell of himself and they can move that ball and not have turnovers, you never know, even with that bad defense.
Tommy?
Hey, Terry Bradshaw's always giving you his honest opinions, whether you agree with him or not. So that's what I've always liked about him. Even if he says something controversial, it's just what he honestly thinks. He's not playing to his audience. The Steelers organization, they've lost something. They've always been so structured and so together from the general manager, the head coach, scouting department. Something's missing. That things are falling apart now, and that they got stuck in a situation where they needed Aaron Rodgers. Rodriguez.
Candy?
Aaron Rodgers. I think the Steelers are missing pieces to really help him. I think when you have a NFL quarterback, and let's face it, he is going into the Hall of Fame. There's no doubt. But I think he's also on the we all know he's on the end of his career. Whether this is the last year or next year will be the last, I don't know. I can't say for sure because only he knows. But he does not have the same mobility that he once had. And so when you have a quarterback like that, you have to have a really strong offensive line. You have to have receivers that are quick. You have to have a running game that is working well because you can't become one-dimensional, because if you become one-dimensional, you're not going anywhere. And yes, the Steelers have had success this year, but if they have hopes of doing well in the postseason, they've got to make sure they're protecting him so that he has time to be able to make the throws that we all know he can throw. Like, we know he can throw it on a dime. He can throw it to where he wants to and stuff like that, but he needs to have time. So yeah, Eddie Prater, the Steelers O-line is terrible. And that's unfortunate because his caliber, where he is in his game now, he needs to have a better O-line.
Well, the only thing I'll say about Aaron Rodgers is last year he was with the New York Jets, and that was bad. At least he could go out with dignity this year with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and you're not having the drama that you had a year ago. We'll see how the rest of the season plays out, but I think he's a little bit more at ease with himself in Pittsburgh than he was with New York. Okay, we're going to go back to the Detroit Lions, our featured topic of the night. There's the Lions needed recording artist Marvin Gaye to defeat Green Bay on Thanksgiving. Am I having fun with this? You better believe I'm having fun with it. Because even if we talk about it, we'll revisit the topic, which we've already done before, but I want to talk about it again. So actually, former artist Marvin Gaye actually tried out for the Lions in the early 1970s. He trained incredibly hard, bulking up actually by buying equipment, saying, I'd rather catch a pass and score a touchdown in Tiger Stadium, then rack up another gold record. So the Lions never signed him. They definitely admired his determination. Candy, some thoughts?
Here's a guy that has had quite the career. Man, what can you say about Mark? To to know that you're a recording artist and yet you tried to try out for the Lions and stuff like that means you were good enough to at least try. But hey, excellent singer. Kudos to him.
Okay, Marvin.
Yeah, man. Today, these rappers want to be ball players, and these ball players want to be rappers. You know what I'm saying? It's no different. I guess Marvin Gaye started that. But it's great. Obviously, he has a passion for that team, passion for the game. Aside from being, a phenomenal singer, he's a real person, and real people in America love sports, and he loves his home team. He's no different than anybody right now on this show. So, kudos to him, man. You love to hear these kind of stories. And, again, one of the great R&B singers of all time. And, great story.
Tommy?
Yeah, Marvin Gaye loved Detroit and the Lions. He's a Motown records guy. His song, What's Going On? What do they call it's not an Emmy. What do they call the Grammys? His song, What's Going On, included backup vocals from Lem Barney and Mel Farr. Too bad Mel's not on with us tonight, Mel Jr.
Yeah.
And for the song, What's Going On? And that's because he just liked the Lions and told those guys to dub in a couple of lines. And that's one of the great things about that song. Lem Barney and Mel Farr both on there. And I don't know if you guys saw this, but there was a news report that Lem Barney was dead.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah. And Mel Jr. denied it.
And then they had both, I think both the son and the daughter came out and said, no, he's I guess he's in one of those senior care centers, but he's alive and well.
Okay, Candy, have you talked about this yet?
Yep.
Okay, how about a station break? A few more topics to go, Tommy. You're definitely going to get out of here before your bedtime as we're rolling all along nicely for a quick station break. Go ahead.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Madmouth Morganroth. Talks about his 40-plus years in the industry and how it has evolved, old school media versus new school media. If you know anybody that wants to get into media or broadcasting, writing, any of those, go get your copy of the book today. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there's a plethora of other great content, so go check it out. If you like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcasts. If you want to subscribe, and there's that little red button down there on YouTube. If you have not subscribed, you see it. Click it, like us. Share us with all your friends and family, and then turn on your notifications so you're notified every time we go live. Monday nights, we talk baseball. Tuesday nights, we talk football. Wednesday nights here on Sports Exchange, you never know what Scott's got up his bag of tricks. So tune in to find out. Thursday nights on Sports Wrap, you'll find us talking about hockey. And then Fire Up, come to the country club. You never know what we're going to be talking there in our relaxed atmosphere. So come check it out. But one last thing, if you want to advertise, if you want to sponsor, if you want to be one of our panelists, or you have topic ideas, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Back to you, Scott.
All right, one story I want to update before we go on to our final topic of the night and the Shanahan report follows is this. Marvin, we talked about Tom Thibodeau when he went up to help out the Boston Celtics, right, a few weeks ago. So here's a little update. I don't know if we talked about it then, but the Knicks actually owe him $30 million. He ended up building New York's defense, and guess what? He's helping Boston defense right now for $30 million of New York money. Marvin, you didn't like it then. Now I'll give you 30 million reasons why you shouldn't like it now.
Yeah. I mean, in thinking about it, to be honest with you, I look at it a little bit differently. My thoughts have evolved. So now I just look at it as this guy was fired. Right. He didn't want to leave. I'm sure, he built rapport with his players. And, the best way for him to say F you really is to go to the opposition while you still pay him money. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I thought about that question when you asked it afterwards. And, yeah, I feel differently now.
Yeah, me too. You get fired. What do you want him to do? Just sit around and do nothing?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I get
$20
it.
million? Help the team out. By the way, you were an assistant for that. You're showing that they appreciated it. The Knicks let you go. I still don't think you should have been fired in the first place. Why you got fired is anybody's guess. Mike Brown is going to bear the brunt of that pressure. If you can't do as much or win as much there, and Tibbs is gone, then it's going to be worse. Tommy, anything you want to add to it or not? Because we only have one more topic to go.
Yeah, no, the NBA, they go through coaches even faster than any other sport. No, I don't really have anything to add to that.
All right, Candy.
Anytime somebody gets fired, the first thing that person wants to do is to get back at who fired them, because they're like, well, why did you, nobody thinks that what they do warrants a firing, especially as a coach. I mean, as a coach, you realize if you don't have the results that everybody wants, that could definitely end up happening. But the first thing you want to do is you want to get back at whoever fired you. Right. So do I blame him? No, not in the least.
Okay, the big news over the weekend, everybody knows that Michigan State hires former Northwestern coach Pat Fitzgerald. But here's how we got to this point, and then we're going to this will be the final topic of tonight, and then we go to the Shanahan report. Here's how we got to this particular point. Back around October 20th, at this time, Michigan State was 6-11. They were 3-10 in the Big Ten against FBS teams under Jonathan Smith. The 11 losses have been by an average of at least 20.6 points a game. That is an awful lot. The team isn't competitive. And, of course, we wish Mel was on because UCLA was one of those teams for which they got hammered. Let's continue the narrative, okay? Jonathan Smith, at that point, looked like he was cooked. His overall record is 8-12. In the Big Ten, he's 3-11 and 0-5 in 2025. From there, okay, Michigan State is hit. Football is hit with vacated wins by the NCAA for violations in Mel Tucker's era. 3 years probation, forced to vacate 14 wins, including 5 under Jonathan Smith. So now, Jonathan Smith loses 5 wins in this unfortunate situation. Then those vacated Jonathan Smith wins, and he has 0 Big Ten wins with the Spartans. So what do you happen here? How does all of this take place? Michigan State suffers its 8th consecutive Big Ten loss of the season, 9th in a row. And dating back to Rutgers, Spartans are 3-8 at that particular point. This is how we got to this point. Marvin, what are your thoughts about what got us here and now the end result? And that fits Pat Fitzgerald.
Yeah. So the situation with the Mel Tucker sanctions, man, is horrible because you're punishing kids that had nothing to do with this. That's really what it comes down to. And I think that the better thing to do, if you want to force these institutions to encourage proper behavior, then you should probably have it set up to where the school and the coach are heavily penalized, and primarily the school. You know what I mean? So that, because it's unfortunate that these kids have to pay for that, and they have to vacate wins. In regards to Pat Fitzgerald, man, I played against Pat in the '96 Rose Bowl. He was a star middle linebacker, great player. I thought he did a great job as a coach as well, just considering what their standard was at Northwestern. I think he may have got a raw deal in that situation, but I think he won his lawsuit. Listen, Michigan State's getting a great coach, but it means nothing if they don't put that money up, that NIL money up. If they don't, Tom, if you don't increase that payout that you're giving out every month, you're gonna have a hard time, man. But that's what it comes down to, because he could be the best coach in the world, but if he doesn't got at least 15 to 20 mil to play with, then he's not going to be competitive in this Big Ten.
Tommy, well, obviously you love to talk about Michigan State. You saw I laid out the events for you, and the end result, Pat Fitzgerald. Go ahead.
Yeah, Michigan State has been a fiasco since Mel Tucker. And then Jonathan Smith, everyone thought that was going to be a good hire because it was a lot like Mark D'Antonio, that he could do more with less. He had a 10-3 team at Oregon State and had a great season after taking over a program that only won 2 games. And the general consensus nationally was that Michigan State had made a great hire. But the donors were upset that he was hired without any of their input. They weren't happy with Alan Haller, the athletic director. He kind of did the whole process on his own. So then you're not getting your donor money in this time and age. You're not going to win. So Smith was kind of got a bad deal there, that he wasn't able to. They didn't have enough funding to bring in the right players, and then Haller got fired. Michigan State got a new president. Haller got fired because he couldn't connect with the donors to raise money. And the new athletic director came in, was hired by the president, and that's his specialty, Jay Batt. He's done it everywhere he's been, is connect with the donors and raise money. And they've got they launched a program at the same time they were hiring Fitzgerald called the Sparta Fund or something like that. And the goal is to raise $1 billion. And the donors are back in line because you have the president, the athletic director, and the football coach all on the same page. And that was part of the reason Fitzgerald took the job, is he liked the alignment, which is the word he used. Fitzgerald is also a better fit for Michigan State because Smith was so passive on the sideline. He wouldn't yell at players when they made mistakes. He wouldn't challenge the refs. And he just wasn't good at communicating with the fan base. And Fitzgerald has already won the press conference because he's a very excitable guy, very personable guy. He can talk to people, all kinds of people. So it's going to be, we thought Smith was a good hire, but he didn't fit.
Right.
Fitzgerald looks like a good hire, but he does fit. And he is going to have the financial backing that he needs because he's got a president and athletic director on the same page.
Well, more importantly, won at Northwestern as well. If you can win at Northwestern.
Yeah, if you can win at Northwestern, you can win anywhere, right?
What was the record? What, 110 and
he won 110 games. And I think more importantly, they were consistent winners. Before,
right.
Gary Barnett, they had a good year where they played against USC in the Rose Bowl, but then they went back down. And I don't think they've had a consistent run like they in their program history, like they did under Pat Fitzgerald. He was a head coach for 17 years, and he's only 51. So he can go another 10 years if he can turn things around with the Spartans. The other thing that backfired on Smith is just a lot of questionable calls in the games. He just didn't do anything to win over the fans.
Well, the reality with Fitzgerald is, number one, he's going to have a lot more to work with in terms of talent available to him, with Michigan State being the number 2 school in the state. And Northwestern, he was trying to make the best out of a school which is really known for its journalism program and fielding some pretty good players. Has had a decent history, so he's got more to work with there. So, do you want to add anything, Marvin, or are you good on this?
No, I'm good on it. I think Tom hit some good points.
Yeah, so I think as far as Pat Fitzgerald is concerned, he's had time away from the game, reflect on why he ended up leaving Northwestern, and you see he's 51 years old. If there's anybody that I think can sustain a long period of time at his age, we've talked about Duffy Doherty, George Perlis. This is a guy who can do it. So I wish him well. I really do. Pat Fitzgerald, he's got a lot of energy. He's the right age. And more importantly, I think it's a great fit with Michigan State.
Yeah, the other thing about Fitzgerald is he was fired over that hazing incident.
Right.
And then after 2 years investigation, he won his lawsuit that he didn't know about it. And so that's good that he didn't know about it, but also it raises a red flag. Why didn't he know about it? He didn't have control over his team. He didn't have complete control. And those last 2 years, they were 2-10. So maybe that all dovetails together, that he wasn't watching over the program the way he had earlier in his year and earlier in his career. And what he has been saying is that he learned a lot about the mistakes he made and how to adjust to the new college football world. He said he got a PhD because of in college football because a lot of his coaching buddies let him spend some time around their programs, and he was able to look under the hood was the term he used to understand how coaches are adjusting to this new world with NIL, and he's just reinvigorated and learned from his mistakes, and I think he'll be more of a top to bottom guy as far as controlling the program.
Candy?
Not a lot more to add, except though I will say that he is good friends with Michigan State football legend head coach Mark D'Antonio and his wife Becky, and they're very special to him. And he expects D'Antonio to be at practices and around the program as things move forward. He also says, like Tommy just said, he spent time going around to other schools, and he went around to the NFL teams to survey and evaluate the new landscape and how it might help him in his job. He's been looking forward to getting back into coaching. Obviously, right now, number one, he has to look for great people to assemble a good coaching staff. But with signing day being as a big priority, he had to focus on that before he will start working on the staff, is what he said in his press conference.
Well, been an interesting 48 to 72 hours. We've talked about all the coaching changes that have taken place, but as this one being toward the latter part of that coaching's hirings, this one appears to be the biggest high profile, the most interesting one. And I'm just glad that Pat Fitzgerald is getting a second chance to be able to do what he does, and that's coached well. So we'll leave it at that. All right, we have time for the Shanahan Report, one last station break, and we'll call it a night tonight. We want to thank everybody for joining us. Eddie Prather's been a star in the chat room. We appreciate him as well. And again, every now and then, what I'll like to do is, depending on who we have on tonight, there are a lot of good stories that we weren't able to get to on Inside the Pipkin, so we can highlight them a lot more tonight here on the Sports Exchange as well. Tom Shanahan joins us here on the Sports Exchange twice a month, and he's a trooper on Inside the Pigskin when those shows go a little bit later. Thankfully, we're within a decent time frame, as well as I have a lot of other projects I have to work on as well. Keep in mind, I'm FOR, fresh off the road from Tampa, as we were really busy during the week trying to catch up on things. So, Tom, I'll turn it over to you for the Shanahan Report, and then we'll wrap it up with one more station break. And then Marvin and I, we have a lot of other projects that we're going to be working on as well, right, Marvin?
Absolutely. Can't wait.
All right, Tommy, give us the Shanahan Report, please.
Yeah, go to my website, tomshanahan.report, buy my books. There's links for to purchase my books, Ray of Light, Jimmy Ray, Duffy Daugherty, The Integration of College Football, and the 1965-66 Michigan State Spartans, forward by Tony Dungy, a big fan of Jimmy Ray and Duffy Daugherty. And then my other book that is more of a national story, about how Michigan State spread integration throughout the country, coast to coast, through Duffy Daugherty's assistant coaches who followed his blueprint of ignoring the unwritten quota of just having a half dozen black players. The right thing to do, the true pioneers of college football integration in the 1960s. And if you don't believe me, on page 1, there's a quote from Barry Switzer that says, "Nobody did more for college football integration than Duffy Daugherty."
Well done, Tommy. Okay, Marvin, let everybody know how they get a hold of you.
Yes, you can catch me social media handle Marvin on the mic. You can catch me with the South Florida Tribune on Tuesday evenings, Wednesday mornings, Wednesday evenings, and more to come with that. You can catch me on Locked On USC twice a week as well.
Okay, Candy, one more station break, and also you can let everybody know that you have Fire Up tomorrow, and of course we have Sports Wrap as well. Go ahead, Candy, station break, and give everybody a preview for what we have left for the remainder of the week.
South Florida Tribune Publishing Company published a book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It is written by our host, Scott, the Motor City Mad Mouth Morganroth. It has a bunch of stories from Scott telling about, there's a story about him and one of his professors and proving her wrong. There is all kinds of stories. There's a picture of him and Muhammad Ali, Tommy Lasorda. You got to go get this book, especially if you know anybody that wants to get into the business. It's a good book for them to read. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Google, and Apple Books. Makes a great gift. The holidays are coming. There's also a link on our website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where there's plethora of great content, so go check it out. If you'd like to listen to podcasts, you can find us wherever you get your podcast. If you want to advertise or sponsor a show or be a guest on a show, you can always email us at southfloridatribune@gmail.com. Last but not least, if you see that red subscribe button in that lower right-hand corner, that means you have not yet subscribed to our YouTube channel. What are you waiting for? Just do it. Click it, like us, share us, and then turn on your notifications so you're notified whenever we go live. Monday nights, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. We're talking baseball. Tuesday nights, Inside the Pigskin. We're talking football. Wednesday nights here on Sports Exchange. There is no limit to what we might talk about. You never know what Scott's got up his bag of tricks. Thursday nights, Sports Wrap. Scott talks all kinds about hockey. And he even has a former GM on there from time to time. So you're going to have to tune in to find out. And then, yes, Thursday nights, 9:30, we have Fire Up. The Country Club. Come on over to my side as opposed to Scott's side and join us. We typically talk, especially this time of year, we're talking NFL and college football. We might be talking about some of the matchups this week as we go into championship weekend for some of those teams. We might talk about how some teams are going to be left out of the CFP. College football playoffs, and should they or should they not? We might talk about some of the college coaches. And typically, we always preview NFL games. And for those of you that have never watched Fire Up, my panelists, we always have a segment. It's called My Town, and that's where we talk about what's happening either in the city that we live in now or the city that we grew up in, depending on which one we want to talk about. So tune in tomorrow night, 9:30 p.m. on Fire Up. And then Scott, sometimes on Saturday mornings, you never know what he's going to have on. That's why you got to hit that notification button, because sometimes he talks baseball. This weekend, he might have a special in mind. So tune in and turn on those notifications so you're notified when he goes live. Back to you, Scott.
All right, Candy. Well, Todd, I'll tell you, Tommy, she's a natural at this stuff, isn't she? And for those of you that weren't with us last night, we want to wish our Candy Ebling a happy birthday. Happy birthday, Candy. No, I'm not going to sing. I don't want to sit here.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday week.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Right. Yes, I like that one.
We had her on last night. We had her on tonight talking about it. And we had a nice family dinner tonight here in the Fort Lauderdale area. So meanwhile, that does it for this edition of the Sports Exchange. On behalf of Candy Ebling, Marvin Powell III, Tom Shanahan, my name is Scott Morganroth, the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us. Tomorrow night, Sports Wrap, as we'll be talking hockey. And as you say, Candy and the Country Club will be on about 9:15, 9:30 Eastern time. Hope you can join us for both shows. Meanwhile, Tommy, did we get you out on time, my friend?
Yes, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Hey, thanks for being a dedicated team player to us and coming on twice a month on Tuesday. And could get it done. That's what we all get to leave on time tonight. Thanks to you, Tommy. I love it when you push me like this. It worked out nicely. But meanwhile, we were able to get a lot of accomplished that we couldn't get done on Inside the Pigskin tonight, and wrapped up a few things. And I'm glad it worked out all across the board. So everybody have a good night. And Tommy, enjoy the rest of your night, my friend. And we'll see you on Tuesday night. Have a good weekend. We'll have a lot more on Inside the Pigskin as well. Marvin, you and I have more work to do this week, my friend. God bless. Rest up. Candy and I, well, it just gets started on the back end for us. Take care, everybody, and see you tomorrow night. Bye now.
Take care. Bye-bye, guys.
Go Green.